Alright guys, I am here to talk about the top 5 underrated or underappreciated rifle cartridge. This is one man's humble opinion of rifle cartridges that I'm familiar with that I feel like the general public doesn't appreciate enough. They were great masterpieces, or they have really filled a niche that a lot of folks just don't know about, and if they knew better, they would pick these over some more popular cartridges. So let's start off with number 5. The 17 HMR. The 17 Hornady Magnum Rimfire, shortened to HMR, was developed in 2002 by necking down a 22 Magnum or a 22 WMR and putting a smaller bullet into the case. The standard 17 grain loading develops 2,650 feet per second from a rifle. For game that one would normally hunt with a 22 long rifle, the 17 HMR is a dream. 22 long rifle rarely expands on game animals. Frequently, when a small game animal is shot with 22 long rifle, they usually run away. It will kill them, but not very efficiently and not very quickly. I've had squirrels go 20, 30, 40 yards. I've had to shoot multiple times. The 17 HMR is highly accurate, and the added velocity and modern bullet design lead to a very rapid, violent expansion. This round drops small game instantly, where you hit them, when you hit them. You don't have to chase after them, they don't run away. If you're a small game hunter and you use 22 long rifle, this is a huge upgrade. Also considered an upgrade over the 22 Magnum, only because the 22 Magnum tends to leave a very big hole in a very small animal, whereas the 17 HMR does not. So it's a kind of a balancing act where it puts them down instantly, but it doesn't destroy the entire animal so that you have plenty of meat left. Definitely an upgrade. Definitely a cool cartridge, and definitely worth a look. Most people, unfortunately, choose to stick with 22 long rifle because it's what they've always shot. Number 4. The 4570 Government. This cartridge was created in 1873 for the trapdoor Springfield rifle for the United States military. The original round was a 405 grain bullet loaded over 70 grains of black powder. This was considered a very anemic rifle round, clocking under 1,400 feet per second. They also had a 300 grain load that would go roughly 1,600 feet per second. Over the years, this round died off in popularity. It was loaded in smokeless powder, but it was always held to pressure levels that were safe for the old trapdoor Springfield rifles. It's a very weak action and can't handle a very powerful cartridge. However, it always held a special place in hunters' hearts, and it was frequently used for deer up to black bear at moderate distances. Here it's seen pictured next to a 308 for comparison. As with many underappreciated cartridges, this cult following of hunters kept this cartridge alive, and over the years we saw different ammunition choices chambered for it. In more recent history, the Marlin 1895 lever action is chambered in 4570, as well as Henry and some single-shot rifles. These rifles were designed at a higher pressure ceiling and could shoot more powerful ammunition. Modern 4570 ammunition, which will say only for lever actions or not for trapdoors, can push a 300 grain bullet to 2,100 feet per second. This huge jump in velocity over the original rounds creates a very good balance of expansion and penetration. It makes this round exceptional for deer, moose, and even brown bear. And it doesn't just poke a hole in them like the old rounds, but it expands and does a lot of damage. The modern version of this cartridge is designed around that lever action style rifle, but can also be fired in in falling blocks and single shots. Those guns are designed to a higher pressure ceiling, can shoot this modern what's called 4570 plus P, and with that round you can hunt anything on the North American continent as well as some African game. The cartridge is excellent from 0 out to about 150 yards. It does drop like a stone after 150 yards. Not a great round for western hunters, but for those like me who hunt in the eastern United States, in thick woods that rarely have long shots, it is an absolute beast and a great cartridge for anything medium to large size game in North America. Number 3. the 7mm .08. Developed by Remington in 1980, this is a cartridge that I feel is really underappreciated and almost unknown by a lot of people. So the 243 is a round that most people would recommend for new deer hunters who are small statured or recoil sensitive. It is based off of the 308 case, but so is the 7mm .08. Now the 7mm .08 has slightly more recoil than a 243, and I say slightly, but it has considerably better ballistics downrange, less bullet drop at long ranges, and significantly better wound channels for larger animals. For a recoil-sensitive shooter, this cartridge, pictured here with the 243 on the left and the 308 on the right, with the 7mm .08 in the center, is a fantastic balance point for medium-sized game. Despite its fantastic ballistics, it is less popular than the 308 and the 243. It lags behind both of them in popularity. So here we see the 308 versus the 7mm .08. And at 400 yards, it actually has less bullet drop and more muzzle energy than the 308 Winchester. So, in general, it's a fantastic cartridge. Great ballistics, low recoil. If you have a young shooter, someone who's small statured, and doesn't want that 308 or 30-06 level recoil, consider the 7mm .08. It is accurate, straight shooting, has very mild recoil from a light hunting rifle, and will get the job done on any what's considered medium game, whitetail deer, mule deer, that type animal, and with the right bullet could even be used for larger game. It's a great round. Hope you consider it. Number 2, the 458 Winchester Magnum. This was designed in 1956 by Winchester for African game animals. They decided to use the 375 H&H Magnum case, which is pictured on the left. However, they decided to shorten the brass when they blew the brass out to make it hold a 458 caliber bullet. That reduction in powder capacity, coupled with the powders available in the late 1950s, led to some issues. There were horror stories of heavily compressed loads in an attempt to try and get a 500 grain bullet to go 2,100 feet per second. These heavily compressed powders clumped in the heat of Africa, and there were squib loads that blocked the barrel, flat out duds, and stories of bullets coming out of the barrel so slow that they literally bounced off of game animals. Because he was injured by a buffalo, Jack Lott created the 458 Lott. It's pretty much the 458 Winchester Magnum, only when they blow out the 375 H&H case, they didn't shorten it. They kept that same Magnum length brass. The 458 Lott will push a 500 grain bullet over 2,400 feet per second. And because of the additional case capacity, it never had any issues with clumping. Now, by the 60s, Winchester fixed the issues with this cartridge. The problem is, it wasn't in time to save the cartridge. Here's the problem. You let African hunters miss the shot of a lifetime, or God forbid, get hurt, or even killed. They decide they don't want to shoot your cartridge anymore. There are a lot of hurt feelings over this cartridge, and a lot of people refuse to use it even today. With modern powders, it will push a 500 grain bullet 2,100 feet per second, and it is powerful enough to take any animal that walks the earth. However, because of a poor launch, well, it kind of died off in the beginning, and there are a lot of people who still have hard feelings. So it's a great round, but if you talk to the old timers, they would tell you, buyer beware. And the number one most underrated cartridge, in my humble opinion, is the 260 Remington. The 260 Remington was introduced in 1997, and it pushes a 120 or 140 grain bullet at strong velocities, 2,900 feet per second for the 120 and 2,750 for the 140. The round never took off, and it was a niche cartridge for a few medium game hunters. But really, everybody said, why would I trade in my 308 or my 30-06 or my 243? And so, not a lot of folks bought into the 260 Remington. It was sold as a hunting cartridge, and, well, nobody bought into it. However, the long-range ballistics are absolutely fantastic, and the retained energy downrange is amazing. This thing is very flat shooting and has great sectional density. It shoots a .264 caliber 6.5 millimeter bullet. It's fantastic for any medium-sized thin-skin game. Great for deer. It's accurate with very little bullet drop and very little wind deflection. If I was hunting whitetail deer and had a 200, 300, even 400 yard shot, this would be a cartridge I would strongly consider. However, it never really got off the ground. Not a lot of ammo is available in my area. It's a cartridge that even a lot of gun shops would say, huh? They've never really heard of it. Now, here's what's funny about this guy, the 260 Remington, is here it is compared to the 6.5 Creedmoor, which is an extremely popular round. The 260 is on your left, the 6.5 Creedmoor is on your right. I pretty much consider the 260 Remington the early version of the 6.5 Creedmoor. So what's the difference? Well, the difference really is that the 6.5 Creedmoor was very popular with target shooters, and so a lot of ammo and a lot of guns were sold very early on, and it has grown in popularity. But honestly, inside of 400 yards, they're ballistic twins. When you get past that, you see a difference. So here I've got the first two lines are the 260 Remington, the 260 Remington 120 and 140 grain bullets are the first two lines. And the 6.5 Creedmoor 120 and 140 are the next two lines. And if I go all the way out to the 400 or 500 yard trajectory, we actually see that the 260 Remington is ahead of the Creedmoor in bullet drop inside of even 500 yards. So really the 260 Remington's a fantastic cartridge, but because it was marketed to hunters and hunters already had guns that they felt like this wouldn't replace, it never really took off. So if you want a cool cartridge, and especially if you're a hand loader, and you hunt inside of 400 yards for a thin-skinned, medium-sized game like whitetail deer, the 260 Remington might be a great gun for you. So anyway, guys, that's my list of 5 very underappreciated or underrepresented cartridges for rifles. Some of them are more popular than others. I have had the chance to shoot all 5 of these cartridges. They are a lot of fun to shoot, and they do shoot very well. Are they good enough to give up the current hunting rifle you've got or the current target rifle you got? Yeah, you be the judge. But they're cool cartridges. They're cartridges a lot of folks don't know about. And at least in my area, some of them are cartridges you can't find ammo for. That's one of the reasons I reload. So I hope this video was fun for you. Please like and subscribe. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.